Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little. This is your daily NeoTA wrap where we take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective. Coming to you late today. I'm on the road. Maybe late tomorrow, maybe early. Just depends on when I have a chance to stop and give a show. It's a little bit more flexible or variable, I should say, when I'm on the road. Today I saw this market sell down after the Fed news. Tried to pop up, and then they started to sell it. Came off those lows again, left a little bit of a tail, but as we'll see tonight, I suspect, and we'll go through a charts together here, that we're going to try and trade back down. Let's start with the Dow now. The Dow, the reason I bring this up is the Dow is actually just making new highs. So this is the oddball, if you will, the one that just doesn't want to stop now. And that's the big 30 cap stocks. I'm going to look at the NASDAQ first. The NASDAQ, the index, I think are the ones that are trying to tell us the most. I told you to expect this thing to come up, have trouble at that swing point lows high. That's what it did. Got over it. Looked like it was going to run. Nope, didn't happen. Comes back down the other way. Now the test, as we said before, the ideal entry point on a long, if you want to make a long, is that tail, right? It's the big range bar because that's what's going to be hard to break. This big range is going to be hard to break down either to the downside or to the upside. And so the place that you want to try to buy it is right there. And that's what you're going to see it come into and test tomorrow. Now, if it does the opposite, in other words, if that doesn't hold it and it can't stay inside that range, then the next place you have to watch in key is this high of that big bar from below previously, and then the volume bars down here, this little area right in there. If it gets up underneath that, I mean, that's going to be a hard place to break. If it gets up underneath that, you can get some juice to the downside. And so I think that's what we're looking at on the way. This is the test, probably going to take place tomorrow. NDX probably going to look about the same. Let's see what it is. Do notice that is a bearish engulfing. Same thing on the NDX and same setup. If we go to the S&P now, the S&P is the one that's been hanging on here, right? The S&P hangs on again today, goes over, back under, still can't get over it, still in the range. And so the S&P hasn't done anything different. I think this is what you have to watch to see if you're going to get the breakdown, because what will happen is the NDX will pressure and so will the NASDAQ. But you got to get this thing to break down as well underneath this range, and that's going to be hard to do. So odds are, just looking at the indexes here, they're going to probably try and hold tomorrow at the bottom of the range on the NDX and the NASDAQ. Here's the Russell. Russell gapped down, stayed down, didn't ever get up. It failed at the highs now 4 times. That could be a bad problem. I didn't really think about this one today. That's a doji today. That one can't get over the highs. Test it 4 different times, folks. If you can't break it up, you're going to break it down, and it looks to me like they're going to try. Doesn't mean you know 4 bars doesn't mean anything in terms of how fast it's going to break or anything like that. But the fact that they can't get over it, you only get so much time. I suspect, I'm going to turn to the end of the sectors here. I suspect what's happening is we're going to see some pressure on the big cap technology. Well, I know we did on the big cap because I was watching it a little bit today. But here is the SOX. And the SOX setting up, and I didn't point this out on the rest of them, right? But they're all setting up big ABCD structures to the downside if they break. And so you have to be careful here if these start to break, right? Because the SOX can come all the way back into all these swing point highs. And that's going to be a hard thing to break down here is these, right? But you'd have to watch it if it starts to get that momentum on the way down. You'd have to watch it. That would be the spot that ideally from a neoclassical perspective where you want to try to pick it up. And that's where it probably would travel to if it gets going. XLB broke out yesterday. Let's see what it did today. Almost a bearish engulfing. So pretty hard return. Does have more volume that says it can go and try it again. Financials, we had the Fed raise rates and start talking about taking their balance sheet down. And that will be the day when I see that balance sheet start to shrink. And you know, it's always coached in terms of, oh, we're going to do it slow, and, you know, it's a sign of strength that we can do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, it took you a decade, folks, a decade to even think about taking down the trillions and trillions of dollars that they created out of nowhere and bought up all this debt that nobody wanted. It's going to take you decades to get out of that, and that assumes that you're not going to have recessions on the way. Pipe dreams. Anyway, XLF likes the higher rates. They push back up. That's what kept the S&P up. And these guys are the ones that are going to have to push this up if we're going to go higher, or at least hold up here. S&P financials. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a key spot. I mean, a little bit farther here, you can get at the swing point high again on the XLF. So that's actually not a bad looking picture there. Let's see what the discretionary did. Now, Amazon was the one that took this up for so long. Today, this one can't get no juice to the upside. That's not surprising. Let's look at healthcare. This is a place they were trying to rotate into, and that rotation continues. Durables has been strong, but that looked like that was having a hard time today, and it did right at the place that you would expect. Right here, this big high volume bar, you go into it, you can't stay over it. It doesn't look like 57.10 closes at, they did by a penny, 57.11. That's a good sign. The breakdown bar's top 57.15, so this is the key area. You get over this, man, that's an ABCD up, huh? Money traveling to places that are quote-unquote safe. XLK, I'm assuming, doesn't look very good. Let's see. And yeah, bearish engulfing looks like the rest of it, right? Big cap technology stocks are sucking air here. XLI, did it test? 6858, 6860, less volume. That's a test failure at the highs. That should try to trade back down the other way. Energy was trying to get some rotation. Didn't take long to give that one up. And I did tell the members that was a place they were trying to rotate to, but I wasn't particularly interested in trying to chase that. IYT, so what do? They drop, well, a good many points here. It looks like about 100 points probably. So bearish engulfings. So there's enough here to tell me that more than likely we're going to try and trade heavy tomorrow, especially in technology again. The problem is trying to break it down, and I think they're going to have a hard time breaking it down. So if I'm looking at this, I'm looking at where can I make some purchases if technology pulls everything down again, bottom of the range to get the first bounce off that pullback, right? So let me go back to the charts and I'll tell you what I'm talking about one more time, just make sure I'm on the same page. And let's get back up here. Where is the indexes? There they are. And so what I'm looking at here on the indexes, if I go into, say, the NASDAQ, for example, I'm looking at this NASDAQ and I'm saying, okay, what I want to do is I want to see it come into this area, right? That's these areas, right? Hold right there. And if so, that's where to make the buys. And it doesn't have to be the buys here. It can be anywhere you want. Ideally, I would go to some place of strength that gets pulled in by this and then make those purchases there. I'll try to get in on time tomorrow. Can't promise you anything. I'll do my best. That's it for tonight. I'm going to take, if you want to hang on, I want to look at one more thing, and that's the currencies. I want to see how they traded off that Fed decision. I know they were trying to kill the dollar. That's what I thought might happen. They got the reversal on the dollar. Dollar's going to pop finally. Let's see what the FXE looks like. Same thing. Try to break it out. Try to break it down. Can't do it. Going to flip around. Dollar's going to make a move. That's it for tonight. Have a great one. Take care. Good night.